Happy New Year and welcome to the Poetry Box Live. I'm Shawn Aveningo-Sanders and so happy that you could join us for our very first show of 2022. Wow, that sounds really weird to say out loud. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, my husband Robert and I run an independent press here in Portland, Oregon, known as the Poetry Box. And to help support our authors, we host the Poetry Box Live on the second Saturday of each month. We publish about 30 books of poetry per year, plus our annual journal, The Poeming Pigeon. And for today's show, we are celebrating the winners of our 2021 Chapbook contest, whose new books will be officially released on February 1st. Today's powerhouse poets include Trisha Knoll, who will be reading from Vermont, Linda Ferguson from right here in Portland, Oregon, and Mary Warren Falk, who will be joining us from Massachusetts. So let's get started with our first featured reader. Trisha Knoll was our third place winner for her chapbook, Let's Hear It for the Horses. In addition to being a quite prolific poet, Trisha Knoll is a mother, wife, feminist, hula hooper, dancer, runner, and master gardener. She is deeply connected to the natural world around her and is known for her eco-poetry, as well as narrative and social justice poems. The poems in Let's Hear It for the Horses stem from a love of horses first instilled by her father. Trisha holds degrees in literature from both Stanford and Yale. She has had hundreds of her poems published and has authored 5 other poetry collections, including Checkered Mates, How I Learned to Be White, Broadford Farm, Ocean's Laughter, and Urban Wild. She is also a contributing editor to the online journal Verse Virtual. Trisha lives in the woods of Vermont, where stables for dressage horses, a herd of pintos, and a one-horse family barn are less than a quarter mile in any direction. Please welcome Trisha Knoll.
Thank you. Thank you, Shawn. And I am so grateful to be here and see friends and family, Vermont folks for whom 7 p.m. is a very civilized time to have a poetry reading. Let's Hear It for the Horses is a little bit different from some of the other work that you may know of my poetry. I almost forgot to say, I have a voice disability, and that's why there's a little bit of edginess in my voice, but I'm not afraid of you. What's different about Let's Hear It for the Horses is it comes from actually years of writing some poetry about horses. And sometimes I write a little bit about loneliness and the inequities of our world and some of the difficulties we're in. But this is a collection of what I call accessible poems with a focus on love for an animal. And I also love dogs, but these poems are about horses. Let's Hear It for the Horses got its title from this poem, which is Let's Hear It for the Horses. Let's hear it for the horses. 1 million dead in the Civil War, if you count the mules, which I do. I say, blowtorch the rebel statue men off their mounts and keep the horses striding on their pedestals. They were not traitors to their country. They showed no sign of caring who they carried, black or white, male or female. Their integrity is without question. They did the work they were asked to do without a nod at glory. For little girls who play at riding horses when they're not actually riding horses, sometimes we pretended to be horses. And this is a poem on that idea, which actually I wrote about a year and a half ago in a Kim Stafford workshop, The Switch. If I were a mare, an aging cow pony with a dark line down my back when August sun is so hot, I'd stand still in drying grasses and curse the biting flies on my eyes that make me wish I could fall asleep somewhere dark and cool where the water is fresh. And if you are the bay dressage thoroughbred in the same pasture, and you have a white cotton mask over your head and ears and a light gauze fly sheet sprayed with deterrent herbal oils on your back, and that tasteless man beyond the fence says you look like some kind of Ku Klux horse, though the flies still hover over you. And if you amble forward toward a hank of lushness that grows from under the split rail fence, if I saw a green stain of spit on your leaf, on your lip, and the way your skin flutters where flies land, if I hear your hoof hit a rock, and though you don't stumble, you take 3 steps with a bit of hesitation between each, then I would wander towards you. I might find some wonderful mouthful on the way or not. I don't care what your mask and blanket means in terms of who cares for you and who cares for me. So I turn my rump towards your nose slowly, the way old ponies do, and I would flick my tail, knowing you will switch at flies on me, because for all our years, no matter whether snow drifts in the door to our barn or the water buckets in our stalls are flecked with slimy hay and beetles, no matter, we are stablemates, barn naked, side by side. This book is dedicated to my father, who taught me to ride, and we did a lot of riding in Rocky Mountain National Park, summer after summer. And this comes from when a time, I guess I might have been 9. It's called To Talk of Gold. This story has me on a plotter mare from a rental stable, a horse for a little girl to ride deep dust trails in Estes Park, 8 hours to Long Lake and back. I follow my father on his sorrel named Lucky. Horseman, I kicked my cowgirl boots on a horse that would not trot and never away from the barn, a nameless paint I loved. Hours into dry pines, picking our way down a full sun ridge studded with boulders and columbine gone to seed. Lucky starts prancing. Knickers, my paint jingles and sidesteps. I wake from a rocking doziness. My father pulls up. Bits clang. Horsey nerves make the saddles creak. A cougar on one granite boulder looks down on us, hunches, leaps, and stretches over us across the trail into August's tall, dry grass, tawny gold into gold, slow motion, gone to gold. May nothing take my breath away again, like this pure wild gold until the dangerous day I died. My next poem is called Catch and Release. And it's a subject I've been thinking about because I have family members who like to fish and let the fish go. Anyway, catch and release. The trout fisherman's poem flew in by email today. Why he thinks trout bite and why he lets them go. Next in line, the neighbor's plea. A golden lab puppy ran out the back door with a blue collar and a romping thirst. That fly that Obama caught in his fist, a grab others try and mostly fail. We are catchers. We net, we trap elephants, able now and then to lean a cheek against the bay gelding's withers and say, go, big heart, run for all you are worth. While I lean on this fractured fence, hold your halter and sing how beautiful you are. It's been cold here in Vermont, 18 degrees today, a high forecast for Tuesday of -1. And I was by the dressage barn today and the horses were all out. The snow is, 5 or 6 inches, but the sun was completely bright and clear. So they were out and they all had blankets on. But this poem is called Unblanketed. Unblanketed. The haunchy gold draft horse lowers down in a stubbled winter pasture, crusted in old snow, rolls as if her itch has been in her for hours waiting. Around this fat mare lies January's truth. Winter lumbers barely halfway through and offers only a moment's respite. This is a poem from a dude ranch in a place I was staying in New Mexico with Daryl, who's here, and is my husband. 100 yards from the dude ranch corral in New Mexico. This close, the smell of cut hay, horse piss, and manure fits in with the rust on a 4-horse trailer and the brown paint of the round pen and corral. The wrangler on a Palomino leads back 3 girls on horseback wearing shiny helmets. Their bays plot the sand and gravel roads. Ears perked to the smell of alfalfa at their barn. A Swedish woman came by an hour ago to book a ride. I told her she had to do that at the office over the hill beyond the cell phone tower. We discovered that both our mothers had hated horses. Hers was newly dead. She wanted to go riding to be less like her mother. I'd long ago given it over to horse love, learned from my father. In the corral, a bay and a black, 2 old boys whose spines sway down, stand cheek to rump and rump to cheek to spot each other's flies. I wait for my hair to dry beneath an apple tree where birds ate the top half of every apple and no apple smell since the dry air. I doubt that motherless woman will be back next summer. The old geldings will go out to pasture. I'm finishing up my work in this red rock landscape. that leaves the old tin barn roof to hold the weather and the apple tree to know what it knows. One of the young women in my life, and another friend of mine, both do competitive show jumping with horses, and I love to go and watch them compete. So after the mare finishes jumping, a hand holds out a cookie of molasses and oats, square in the center of that little cake, red or black licorice or peppermint. Job well done. Time for rest and healthcare, cool water, baths, consideration for overtime, a refuge with a solid roof, greens, a kind hand, good neighbors, legal papers, retirement benefits, and a living wage. I mentioned in one of the earlier poems the horse named Lucky, and I'm not going to read it. It's kind of a long poem, but my father died riding Lucky, and there is a poem in this book about that. I also, in this next poem, mentioned Daisy, who was a quarter horse that I was able to ride to win a horse race in the rodeo arena in Buena Vista, Colorado, when I went to camp. And then there's Darcy. My author picture in this book is of me riding Darcy at the age of 10 in Estes Park. So the poem is called In the End, and it's the last poem in the book. In the end, it wasn't Lucky or my friend's 32-year-old mare, part Tennessee Walker, part Arab, who made me write this, or Darcy, the paint in the rodeo photo, or Secretariat, or Daisy, who won the quarter-mile race, but gratitude for sharing a universe with creatures that inspired the Greeks, Chinese, Hindi, followers of Muhammad, Koreans, Tibetans, Mongolians, Assyrians, and the Valkyries, to name the wind drinkers, spirit and ghost horses, and record visions of horses with wings, hope that we may rise above limits with friends different from us. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, Tricia, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing these poems with us. I think the true magic of this collection is that you don't have to know horses to enjoy these poems. I am not what you might call a horse person, but I find myself, picking a poem at random from this collection and reading it, and I feel in my bones the beautiful connection you had, and so many people have, with these magnificent animals. And I'm a bit envious, I have to confess, but it's truly a marvelous and quite moving tribute that you've written in this book. And thank you so much for sending it our way. It's been our honor to publish it. Our next featured poet is Linda Ferguson, who was our second place winner for her chapbook, Of the Forest. Linda Ferguson started her career writing software how-to manuals before she even owned a computer. She also worked as a copywriter and journalist until she became hooked on reading, writing, and performing poetry when she saw Naomi Shihab Nye, Lucille Clifton, and Jimmy Santiago Baca in the Bill Moyers program, The Language of Life. She had found a tool to say the unsayable while savoring the pleasure of piecing together intricate word puzzles. As a passionate community builder, she teaches affordable creative writing classes for adults and children based on her belief that artistic expression should be available to everyone, regardless of income or experience. A 4-time Pushcart nominee, Linda is also a writer of fiction and essays. Her collection of feminist persona poetry, Not Me, Poems About Other Women, is forthcoming later this year. Please welcome Linda Ferguson.
Thank you so much, Shawn and Trisha. Those poems were amazing. That was such a joy to hear you read. And it's such a joy, as Trisha said, to see all of you here. Love your faces. So my family name is DeForest. And when I was a kid, I loved my name. I loved that it was of French origin. I love that the F was capitalized, and I loved its meaning of the forest. But when I got married, I changed my name without giving it a lot of thought. I took my husband's name, and looking back on that now, I see that as my way of leaving the forest of childhood behind. And like many forests, this one had some danger, but also some delight. And one of the delightful moments of my childhood was when my brother made up this very silly little song for me. And it inspired this first poem, Camping circa 1970. My chocolate-eyed brother croons to me from his sleeping bag. Sprinkle of pine needles on the roof of our blue tent. Canvas walls, a lullaby, cradling the ghost of marshmallow smoke. Eyes closed, I see a cinnamon tree stump perched on the hill beyond. My brother says the stump is a small bear. I want it to be a bear. I want to rest my cheek against the bear's side and feel his warm ribs rising. I want to hold all the bear's size in my arms. I want him to sing to me all my life. Siblings are the main theme in this collection, and I have a series of poems, fictional poems about 3 siblings, and I'm going to read 2 of those. Hansel and Gretel and Johann, Part 1. As children, Hansel was a small bear, sun on his hair, melted caramel. Johann was a blue-eyed wolf, slinking bones, and a cold, faded coat. I'm still the fox, darting across the page, searching for shadows between consonants and vowels. Look, my topaz eyes glow through fronds of metaphor and ink. Hansel and Gretel and Johann, Part 2. Here's the thing, the truth, no hunger, no stepmother plotting to lose us in the woods, just sandwiches and long summer days, a flat lawn rimmed with brittle bark dust, hours before the parents would return from work. We knew the rules, and still we crossed the highway, following the damp path to the creek. There was no witch. I've imagined one though, and what I'd have done if she'd laid one finger on Hansel's warm head, my little bear. I'd have pushed her in the oven, I would. I suppose I'd have saved Johann too, if necessary, but it was Hansel she'd want, always Hansel. But there was no witch, just 3 children, Hansel reaching for a plump berry as Johann's teeth snapped. The marks on our skin long since faded to a smooth mask. When I was in 7th grade, I had the sweetest science teacher. He was fresh out of school. It was his first teaching job, and everybody absolutely adored him. In fact, on the last day of school, one girl was sobbing in the hall because she wouldn't have this teacher again the following year. So he makes an appearance in this poem. Some questions I've never asked my brother. Mr. Nakashima, I whispered to the mirror. Did you hear? When I breathed the name of my 7th grade science teacher, just 23, a voice as humble as a blueberry, were you listening? Hidden in my closet, did the Swiss dot sleeve of my new school dress brush your cheek? When you peered through the crack between the closet doors as I breathed my teacher's name and pulled on my flannel nightgown with its calico yoke and tiny bow at the throat, what did you see? When you, laughing, threw open the doors, did you find a rabbit startled by a wolf? 4 decades is a long time to run. Sometimes I want sleep and love. Sometimes I wonder what I would have seen if I had, like you, crept down our dark hall to burrow between your striped cotton shirt and the empty sleeves of your powder blue prom suit. Back then, I thought you were sculpted of fire or iron or ice, but maybe you were simply flesh and nerves. Tell me, was there a name of someone, a teacher, neighbor, or friend who kindled tenderness and awe in your narrow breast? As I mentioned earlier, I somewhat cavalierly dropped my family name, and this poem asks questions about that. Can you really just leave your name behind, or is it always a part of you? My brother's wife spells deforest wrong. In her hand, that proud capital F, which was born to stand tall as a silver fir, becomes a wilted frond or a speck of dust or the crumbling crust of a dead bug on its back. No simpering lisp, its true voice makes a husky music, riding waves of robust vowels, tombe, pas de bourrée, jeté, jeté, jeté. And at the cafe table, its teeth are steel tines that pierce the skin of crepes with a primal of perfume and growls. Frankly, I'm baffled by my brother's wife, who denuded, diminished, diluted the name, my birthright, that I shrugged off at the altar like a sweater woven from the rasp of sheep's wool and the splintered claw of a wounded wolf. Tell me, why would anyone do that? I'm just going to read 2 more poems. Of the Forest. Maybe I was in my room after school. Maybe I was racing my answer to a math problem. Maybe I was eating the tuna sandwich I couldn't swallow at lunch. Maybe I was on my feet, arms stretched, neck long, pretending I was a swan. Maybe I heard him approach. Maybe he slunk in like a wolf, smelling of bruises and bent nails. Maybe a small brown bear crouched beside him, smelling of wool and berries and warm earth. Maybe the wolf and bear said I was a bird. Maybe they said I should pluck off all my feathers for them, the plaid wool, the cable knit, the cotton. Maybe the wolf and bear circled. Maybe they smiled. Maybe I shrank. Maybe I froze. Maybe no and no and no. Maybe they shrugged and left me alone, safe, untouched, a trifle. Maybe I cowered on my rose print bed. Maybe I called for them to come back. Maybe they pretended not to hear. Maybe I wasn't worth the trouble. Maybe I was pampered, privileged, put up on a pedestal by an adoring father. Maybe I was weak, ugly, uncoordinated, prevaricating, a liar. Maybe I imagine things today. Maybe I think I'm the blur of a hummingbird's wings, but I'm really a crow's bristling beak pecking at soggy French fries in the street. Maybe there's blood on my claws and carrion caught between my teeth. Maybe I'm in a cage. Maybe I built the cage myself. Maybe there are 300 locks on the door of the cage, but no key. Maybe there's 1 lock and 300 keys. Maybe when I'm hungry enough, I'll bite my way through the cage's iron bars. Maybe when I'm strong enough, I'll kick open its door. Maybe when I'm loud enough, I'll howl in the presence of bears and wolves. Maybe when I'm reckless enough, I'll ask to see their hidden scars. Maybe if I live long enough, I'll move among my fellow creatures with an easy breath and a long spine, inhabiting the forest that's theirs and yours, and also mine. So I have a series of love songs throughout the collection for my husband, but I'm just going to read one of the love songs, which is actually for everyone. Love Song 4. Once I found myself in the dictionary, smart, pretty, quiet. Then I flexed and ran, snowflakes and chestnut burrs embellishing my fur, mouth open. Now I am amphibious, ready to plunge, nameless, into new wet worlds, to shimmer and slip liquid bones through a crack in Moffic rocks, then rise above clusters of plump sea grapes with a flick of luminous fins. And maybe you have become the tender flesh of a crab, or the ruffled white collar of the plumose anemone, or a kaleidoscope of phytoplankton that wears the iridescence of star-shaped confetti. Or on land, could we be the tip of the thorn on a crimson rose and the fat tail of a raccoon draped like a stole over the plum tree's arm? And maybe we're the plum blossoms too, our scent beckoning to honeybees. And oh, let us be the honey, the chemical reaction between nectar, enzymes, and evaporation. Come, let us grow organically from fragrant forest soil, or from the green floor, or in the endless field of gas and dust of the atmosphere. Let us flourish where we're planted, blown, or roam. Let us astonish ourselves with unimagined flowering. Thank you so much.
Oh, Linda, what a treat. I just love your imagination, and the way you use language is just a pure delight. Butterscotch colored kitchen, marshmallow smoke, describing your brother's taunting as a fistful of consonants and your husband's voice as all sprouts and fronds, stirring seeds and laughing leaves. I can't get enough of this fantastical vision. And the way you weave fairy tales and family and feminism, such a tour de force. I can't thank you enough for sharing with us today, Linda. It was just spectacular. Okay, our final poet is Mary Warren Falk, who was our first place winner for her chapbook, Erasures of My Coming Out Letter. Of Mary's winning manuscript, our contest judge, Annie Lightheart, said, "To uncover the human heart that quietly waits inside every life and every poem is no small feat, and yet is what Erasures of My Coming Out Letter does with deftness and hope. Shaped by both the weight of secrecy and the release of recovery, the poems draw our eyes and minds into the page and the careful search taking place in, around, and beneath each word. Erasure poetry may sound like it's the rubbing out of meaning, but the poems within this beautiful volume show that it has the very opposite effect, allowing love and truth to surface and catch the life that is their birthright." Mary Falk has been published in Voice Catcher, Yes Poetry, Arlington Literary Journal, Pine Hills Review, Palette Poetry, Visitant, and Steam Ticket, among many other publications. She has another new chapbook, If I Could Write You a Happier Ending, forthcoming from Dancing Girl Press. She received a grant from the National Endowment of the Humanities. She recently won the Teach, Write, Play Fellowship to the Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing, and her poem, The Inventory of Fumbling, received first place honors. A graduate of the MFA writing program at Vermont College of Fine Arts, Mary lives in Western Massachusetts with her wife and 2 children. She is an educator, a writer, and activist. Please welcome Mary Warren Falk.
Thank you all. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for showing up to support our poetry tonight. I just want to take a few moments to say, express my deep gratitude. I want to thank the Poetry Box. I want to thank Shawn and Robert for your incredible investment in all of us, in our collections and poetry broadly. I don't think I could ask for a more nurturing, kind, thoughtful, and proactive editor and publisher. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Judge Annie Lightheart. I'm an ardent admirer of her words. I have packs by my bedside table, and I go to it very often. I want to thank Trisha and Linda. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. I'm awed by your words. I can't wait to hold your collections in my hand and to continue to learn with and from you. So thank you. I want to thank Susan Reed Alabashi, my best friend since the 5th grade, who is an incredible artist and is responsible for the stunning cover art for this work. We've been partnering and collaborating since the 5th grade. And she also helped me with the cover art for this Dancing Girl Press chapbook, If I Could Write You a Happier Ending. And we're working on another collection, which is coming out shortly, Self-Portrait with Erosion. So Susie, I'll put her website in the chat and please go and visit it. I also want to thank other friends and family that are here. Sarah Levine, who's a phenomenal coach, editor, friend, poet. She was instrumental in helping me shape and find my latest collection. So Sarah, it's nice to see you. And then Pascal Giroux, who's read every poem I've ever written. And I can tell immediately on her face whether I should trash it or pursue it. So thank you. It's important to have friends like that. And then Liz Bedell as well, who's been an incredible friend and coach. Lastly, my beautiful wife, who's here, Allison Miller, and my children. I couldn't do this without you. So thank you for your steadfast belief in me. It's not easy to be married to a poet. So thank you for giving me the time and the space to pursue this passion. In talking to Shawn about tonight, I thought I would just take a moment to give you a little bit of a background on these erasures. I was very fortunate to attend Vermont College of Fine Arts, and I worked with the extraordinary poet and instructor Leslie Ullman. During my 4th semester under Leslie's guidance, she encouraged me to study the erasure form. Both of us are passionate about visual and conceptual poetry, and she had me reading the works of Mary Ruefle, Jen Bervin, Layli Long Soldier, and Solmaz Sharif, just to name a few. I thought I'd take a moment just to remind all of us of the definition of erasure, and this is from the Academy of American Poets. Erasure poetry, also known as blackout poetry, is a form of found poetry wherein a poet takes an existing text and erases, blacks out, or otherwise obscures a large portion of the text, creating a wholly new work from what remains. Erasure poetry may be used as a means of collaboration, creating a new text from an old one, and thereby starting a dialogue between the two, as a means of confrontation, a challenge to a pre-existing text. That's from the Academy of American Poets. I was also studying Angel Garcia, who has this wonderful chapbook called Lessons on Erasure, which is available through Sundress Publications. You can download the chap for free. And he writes, erasure is language translated and retranslated. It makes meaning new. In this new language, code switched but not coded, we are allowed to resist by expressing dissent. We are able to dismantle and deconstruct the official language. From the legacies of trauma, we can find power. Erasure is an assertion of that power. Erasure is recovery. Erasure is resistance. Erasure is resilience. Erasure is political will. Erasure is empowerment. Now, during the semester, Leslie also had me mining memory. I write a lot about memory, inheritance, legacy. And in that mining, I found my coming out letter. It had probably been 18 years since I'd read it, and I was struck by it. And I knew that I wanted to examine it further. I wanted to make it new. I wanted to reimagine it. I wanted to flip my coming out and the process on its head. And I wanted to use the form of erasure and all that I had studied and learned to do so. What if I never had to come out? What if I never had to write such a letter? What if the process was rendered unnecessary, erased? For some, it is unnecessary. For too many, it is costly. What might I have done with that energy if it hadn't been exerted on hiding, on passing, on fear, on denial? These are the few of the questions asked and answered throughout this collection. I'm going to start by reading the formal letter at the front, the coming out letter, and then I'll read a sampling of the erasures. November 2002. Dear Mom, there's something I need to share with you that I've been keeping from you. I can't keep it in anymore. I'm burdened by secrecy and the stress is weighing on me. I'm sorry to be doing this by mail. For me, a letter is the most effective, the easiest, and perhaps most considerate way to convey what I am thinking and feeling. I want you to know that I am with Allison. She's not just my roommate, but also my partner. And we have a wonderful, beautiful relationship and life together in New York. I've waited until now to tell you for a number of reasons. Please trust and try to understand them. I needed the time and space for my sake to feel comfortable with and committed to me, my identity, my choices and needs, to feel comfortable with and committed to my relationship with Allison. I know this is hard. It's not the norm, especially for our family and family expectations. We're not the most liberal of families. And it's weird for me. It's difficult to be gay. Society makes it so. I don't even necessarily identify as such. I feel as if I met this great person and I want to be with this great person. I know this will take some time to adjust to accept for all involved. I was scared of rejection, of more loss, disappointment, judgment. I know this is not what you would necessarily want or hope for me. I love and adore Allison. She's phenomenal, incredibly special, and vital to me. I'm not validating or respecting her or me, our choices, by being silent, hidden. I can't and don't want to deny us anymore. I want you to know me fully. I don't want you to find out through some other means or after the fact. Please don't respond right away. Take some time to read and reread this, to think about your response, your feelings. I'm sorry it's taken me this long to tell you. It's my hope that we talk about this and over time, that you ask questions and tell me what you need. It is also my hope that you will get to know Allison and that you will have the chance to see what I see. Please always know that I love you, Mary. Dear, there's something I've been keeping. I can't. Dear, burdened, secrecy, weighing. Dear, difficult to be gay, society scared. Dear, this great person, not what you want for me. Dear, you try me. Dear, I am sorry. I'm sorry, Mary. Dear, I need, I am, I want, I know, I feel, I want, I know, I know, I love, I am, I want, I see, I love. Dear Allison, with you, I am me. I am me fully. Mary. Dear family, society, you have the chance, always. Dear, anymore, I don't want your questions. Dear, there's me, a wonderful, gay fact. Mary. Dear, beautiful, gay, always love you. Mary. That's it. Thank you. I wanted to just share that when I submitted the poems, these were pretty heavily redacted in black ink. And Shawn and Susie and I collaborated, and they created this beautiful design treatment. Not only is it wonderful to look at, it's beautiful to read, but it allows a space and the words to really emerge and to breathe. As I mentioned, I studied the works of Mary Ruefle, and Mary Ruefle talks about looking at the page and seeing the words sort of rise up, and then she picks the words almost like a bouquet of flowers. So I'm very grateful to Shawn for that that treatment. Thank you. Thank you all.
Wow.
Oh, Mary, I'm going to try to get through this without crying. That was powerful. That was really something. And I wish I could hug you right now, because as a mother of two twin daughters who are gay, I personally thank you so much for writing this. I have witnessed so many young people who are afraid to come out. I've seen heartbreak and overwhelming fear of banishment. I've even had a young woman share how her own mother told her she would burn in hell if she dated my daughter. And I wish I could have handed them this book as a guiding light. When I first read your manuscript, I was just moved to tears in the best possible way. And I'm so happy that Annie picked it as the winner. I'm so proud to publish these vital, vital, and beautiful poems. Thank you so much for your bravery, your vulnerability, and most of all, your heart. Bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Shawn.
Oh, let's have a giant round of applause for all of our readers today. Woo-hoo. And thank you, our audience, for joining us for another edition of the Poetry Box Live. As poets and authors have been impacted by the closure of bookstores and limited reading venues across the country, it really means the world to us that you joined us here today on Zoom to celebrate their poetry. Our next show will be on Saturday, February 12th, featuring Sam Love, author of Earth Residence, Poems for a Viable Future, Beth Boness, author of Transition Thunderstorms, and Mimi German, author of Beneath the Gravel Weight of Stars. To keep up to date on upcoming shows, new releases, and submission opportunities, please subscribe to our newsletter by going to thepoetrybox.com, where you'll find a sign-up form at the bottom of each webpage. And by the way, our 5th annual chapbook contest will be open on February 1st through the 28th. Our judge is James Cruz. And so make sure you finish polishing those manuscripts. We can't wait to read your offerings, and you can find all the full details on our website. So thanks again for joining us today. We look forward to sharing more great poetry with you next month on the Poetry Box Live. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to chat with the poets or have any questions.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's delightful.
All
Stay
those
safe.
left,
For
be
being here.
safe.
Stay well.
Bye-bye.
Take good care.
I wish it wouldn't end.
I know.
I know.
Looking forward to the next one.